Yeah, we rolling. You already know what it is. Peace, world, peace. And all of our upgraders and haters, we love you. If you're listening to this, guess what? World War III ain't kicked off, man. Blow this rock up. I'm Cameron Raw here with CJ the Day Slayer. Tell them what we talking about, bro. What's going
Man,
on?
we're gonna get a little spicy today on this lovely
Rah.
Sunday. You already know. We're gonna talk about BRICS. It's
Yeah.
becoming reality, right? We're gonna dig a little deep into that. We're also gonna talk about the US and Taiwan, how that plays out, and then we're gonna also talk about Florida just passed a bunch of laws
Whole
July
bunch of bars.
1st. It's like 200. How do we keep track of that for the average Floridian? So we're going to discuss a solution for that. So that's pretty much the show and everything in between. Like, share, subscribe. We love you, upgraders. Upgrade where
Get
you're
some.
at. Upgrade America 4.0. This is what we do. Let's get into it.
Rah. So yeah, CJ mentioned that we're talking about BRICS, but we're gonna go a bit deeper into that and compare Bitcoin to gold and what should back the USD. So if you haven't heard, BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah, they just came together and formed a mega team. And guess what? They're rolling out a new currency that's going to be backed by what? Dun dun dun, ying ying ying, that gold shiny stuff. Yeah, they want to back it by gold. And CJ, I would like to hear your thoughts on that, man. What do you think?
Well, based on history, everybody can dig it up. We used to have, was it the gold standard in the
Yeah,
US back in 50s on back, I think, if I remember correctly.
who was the president that put an end to that?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember. It's so long ago. I mean, we could do a pick.
Was it Roosevelt?
Might have been. I feel like it's around the 50s is when it changed.
Hold on, let's ask our buddy Chat GPTC.
Okay,
When was gold standard ended?
in the US.
So the gold standard, which pegged the value of currencies to a specific amount of gold, has been abandoned by most countries. The specific dates ended the gold standard. So in the United States, the United States formally ended the gold standard on August 15th. And yeah, I was way wrong. You were way wrong. It was 1971 under
Wow.
President Richard Nixon. The
Oh,
decision was known as Nixon shock. The US dollar ceased to be convertible by gold, and an international monetary system shifted to a floating exchange rate system. So, what
that
did there's something else that occurred with the central bank, the establishment of a central bank.
was it the Federal Reserve, right?
Yeah, it was U.S. Fed Reserve established.
I feel like the 1900s, the early 1900s. I could be.
Yeah, it's December 23rd, 1913.
Okay, yeah, that's about right then. That's interesting.
So Russia, this whole we discuss how BRICS is rolling out something that we used to do, and we no longer do that. It was done away with by Nixon in the 70s. Why do you think they're bringing that back now?
Well, because the dollar has been the standard currency globally probably since then. What you want to say the 70s for the most part, 80s somewhere in there.
Way before that, if we're talking about dollar hegemony, subsequent to, well, actually prior to the end of World War II,
Okay. Yeah,
dollar
that would
is
be
when
right.
I want to say is when they established that whole petrodollar thing. But
Yeah.
again, I don't want to shoot off the hip. I'm gonna ask my buddy ChatGPT. When was petrol dollar established?
And upgraders, it's nothing wrong with using technology to further our knowledge, and we're doing it real time. So you see that, hey, listen, we're trying to get this stuff a lot more accurate.
So again, it's saying it's in the 1970s. Yeah, because I was shooting off the hip, spitting falseness. So I'm saying it's in the 1970s. Shout out to your boy Richard Nixon again. He really put it down and laid the way for OPEC and the U.S. dollar. But I don't think I don't want to debate you, but I do want to have a discussion on why I think the U.S. dollar should be backed by Bitcoin and not gold.
Okay.
You believe that it should be backed by physical gold. I'll let you go first and present your argument.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up real quickly how much gold we have in reserves. I don't know how accurate it is because you know a government is only as powerful as its secrets. So
They're cooking the books.
yeah, it could be. This came from the official government website of, let me make sure I get this right, the Bureau of Fiscal Service. And it's also, the data is moving to fiscaldatatreasury.gov. So that's official. So basically, we have in total, I'm going to just get to the total number, 11, I think you said billion, right? Dollars in gold.
Yeah.
Essentially. Not a lot, not like you would think, considering we're trillions in debt. So,
Well, like we discussed, there are more billionaires with more liquid cash than the federal government.
yeah. So some of the pros, did a little research. Chat GPT, shout out. Just makes it a lot quicker. So some of the pros of backing the U.S. dollar with gold would be stability. Gold is a precious metal, considered stable, consistent backing for a currency. Another pro would be established system. Gold-backed currencies have implemented in the past, offering a familiar and tried
Hold
and
on, the
tested
dogs are
framework.
wilding out. I gotta
Say
bring
again?
them in. I said the dogs are wilding out. I gotta bring them inside.
Oh, okay. It's cool.
You can keep rolling though, man. I hear you.
Yeah. I started the timer over. Sorry about that, upgraders. We're trying out some new things, obviously, as you can see. Tangible asset. Gold is a physical commodity which can provide a sense of security and confidence in the backing of the currency. So
Right.
those are the pros to having gold.
Come on. And I hear the pros of having gold. Come on, bud. I want to present an argument for Bitcoin.
Okay.
Now, when you're talking about $11 trillion worth of gold, pardon me, $11 billion.
Yeah, I think it was
What?
billion. Yeah.
How much do you think it costs to secure that? How many men with guns do you need? Think you need to secure $11 billion worth of gold?
Ooh,
And say you wanted to move that $11 billion worth of gold, how much do you think it would cost?
I don't know. Definitely millions for sure.
I would wager, yeah, probably low millions.
Yeah.
But that's something you have to consider. So there are records on record with the Bitcoin blockchain, which you can account for. Like every last crumb, you can move billions for like 40 cents or less.
Mm-hmm.
You can secure it with a single individual can secure billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. You don't have to pay armies to do it. You can move it around at the speed of light. And that's where we're at right now. Above
Okay.
all, there's only 21 million. There's a lot of speculation about what Ghana, the accounts that Ghana is holding, how much physical gold they have recently discovered. And then you're talking about the emergence of all these space companies and how they have ambitions to, how do you say, mine gold from asteroids, which is it's nearly infinite.
Mm-hmm.
While it may be far off in the future, with artificial intelligence and robots and the discoveries of new technologies, there's going to be more gold. We're going to access more gold, if only from the Earth or in outer space. We're going to get more gold, but there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And that is why I say it is imperative that United States back its currency with Bitcoin. Gold is again, you have to deal with the notion of, how do you say, inspecting the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to make payments with it, we're really throwing gold bars on the table. And then if it's like, hey, it's 50 cents, must I shave off another gold bar for the change? It's a frivolous concept to back currency with in the 21st century. Keep some on the side, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but not for the monetary supply. What are your
Should
thoughts?
we create some kind of hybrid system with both of these methods? Because obviously the goal, like you said, logistically and like quantity wise, as far as chopping it up, all this stuff, yeah. But then you're talking about digitally, which we are in the digital world now, right? So wouldn't that be more of a better balance, I think, to have some kind of hybrid system?
So I agreed for the sake of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I push back is from accountability.
Okay.
So in a blockchain world, they call the blockchain like it's like a ledger, because
Okay.
anyone can view it, right? Anywhere in the world, everyone has access to it, and it's for accounting purposes. It's
Mm-hmm.
ideal. It's freaking awesome. So riddle me this, right? How would you do the accounting on that?
And you're talking to somebody who hated accounting, by the way, full disclosure, when I took it in college.
No, because it's like, must you then take bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get how you can account for all the digital dollars, right? Digital dollars are there. Hey, we printed this many digital dollars, right? You're pegging it to a digital asset like Bitcoin. I can see that one for one. But then when you're talking about, hey, we have now, let's just say it's $1 billion that's backed by gold. How do you stop someone from spending that physical $1 billion
Mm-hmm.
that's supposed to be, you're supposed to keep that much gold, right? The same amount of paper with, how do you do that?
Good question. I mean, besides how we keep it stored now, Federal Reserve allegedly. I don't even, do they even keep cash? I know they keep coins and gold, but I don't remember if it said it kept cash on
For
hand.
my understanding, for cash, it's like 56 billion in cash is what.
Let me
And
see.
even when they declare it as cash, that might just be like what they have in an account. But it could
Yeah.
be physical cash too. It could be physical cash what the feds have as well.
No.
And then even if you want to take a step further, like, yo, we got all this
Mm-hmm.
fuel. Why not back it with oil? How do you do the accounting? How do you say, hey, we got $1 million of hard cash here? It's one thing to make sure, hey, make sure the oil doesn't just keep the oil here, don't touch it. That's about $100 million worth of oil. Don't touch it. It's one thing to make sure the oil doesn't get spent, but how do you make sure the cash that's supposed to be pegged to doesn't get spent?
That's a good point.
And as I said, it has to be some sort of merger with, you have this digital dollar that's
Mhm.
now merged with a digital asset, and you can have a one-for-one accountability. And I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. But
Yeah, no, you make a
we need something, America needs something to counter what BRICS is doing if they want to retain hegemony. Because I don't want to live in a second world country. I don't want to live in a broke America, broker America, I should say. But I guess that's our time. We need to digress, unless you have
yeah.
some closing thoughts.
So all in all, what we're going to say for this segment is we need to come up with some solutions because our enemies and our allies are working together to get from under the dollar. If you're paying attention to geopolitics, that's what's going on currently. Um, some channels to consider for geopolitics. My favorite is the Caspian Report.
I like how
I
you laid
love
it
that
down.
channel.
Very
Um,
smooth. Shout
yeah,
out to Tim Iverson as well.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta check her
Of
out.
information.
Yeah, I gotta check her out too. We're also gonna talk about Taiwan. I know you brought up, was it Taiwan? Go ahead and introduce that.
Um, Ukrainian conflict's already balls deep, and we threw out some suggestions. I need to sit down and talk, but preemptively, why not look at Taiwan? And the momentum is ramping up with China making efforts towards a full-scale invasion. Let's be pessimistic for a moment and assume it's imminent, it's inevitable. They're going to invade Taiwan.
Hmm.
What next?
If they were to, what should we do?
Yeah.
That is in our interest. We're already all over the Pacific between Korea, Japan, all that. You would want to use phases of warfare, I guess. You would want the Asian countries to stop that first before
Hmm.
we got involved. I would lean on the Asian allies in that region to all gang up on China, I guess, essentially, because they live in that realm of the world.
I
And it would
agree.
only make sense to put that kind of peer pressure economically and militarily because they're right there. They can react like this. And all of them kind of have some beef with China anyway, in some form or fashion, I'm sure.
Do we
Not
do it Ukraine though, i.e., foreign aid and all that good stuff?
You would want to take that approach first. You don't want to start actual combat because if it would force us to actually do combat, we're trying to avoid that. I'm not saying proxy wars are any better, but you would
I'm gonna
definitely want to use that
I'm
first.
gonna fast forward to when the combat happens.
Okay.
Share my approach. So for the military in general, I do want to see a global withdrawal. Bring everybody back and protect the homeland.
Hmm.
But
What? Oh, back that
oh,
up. Back that
I
up.
need to. I'm not done yet.
Back that up. Go ahead.
Okay.
Say that out loud again. Go ahead. I got to hear that part real quick. Go ahead.
I think there should be a global military withdrawal from the United States forces, and we should beef up security in the homeland. I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead.
However, I have no illusions, and I'm very well informed on power vacuums.
Hmm.
I think that we should supplement those forces with seasoned, uh, let's just call them mercenaries.
Okay. Like
And
the
here's
like
why
Wagner.
here's why I say that. Like the Wagner Group, like those, not the Wagner Group, but characters like them. Shout out to Eric Prince's Blackwater folks or whatever you're calling yourself these days. But characters like those, but one, they have more experience. Two, they're paying to be in danger. And three, I'm not saying your lives don't matter, but if a mercenary gets killed on American interest, we do not have to start World War III
Mm,
on their behalf. If an
okay.
American soldier gets whacked, one American soldier gets smoked, yeah, best believe we gonna start World War III over him or her. So I would rather have our mercenaries out there doing that. Now, if I'm talking about one attack on the home front, one attack on the home front, I'm talking about one bullet lands on American soil, yeah, then we gotta piss fire and napalm with American forces on whoever wants a piece of that. But I think that let's you can't stop the military industrial complex. You're gonna get you get one right there. So like let's keep the games going, but let's keep our warfighters at home, protecting the home front, and the people who want to get some of that, the people who are getting paid for that, the people who are trained and seasoned for that, let them continue America's interests abroad.
Now, another question. I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying because we talked about the future of warfare. It's going to be cyber, it's going to be drones, it's going to be unmanned aircraft, it's going to be spec ops,
Yes,
it's
indeed.
going to be tech. It's not really, you still need the Navy, but other than that, it's not going to be a lot of ground and pound like that. It's going to be surgical strikes, et cetera, right?
Absolutely, and a lot of intelligence as well. You got to remember we're beefing up intelligence too.
Yeah.
But those drones, you can keep the assets overseas. I would even go so far as say, hey, let's keep some nukes there that our allies can't use without our protection. But you can keep drones there and have the pilots flying stateside. I'm not
Yeah.
against that either. But the way
I
we're
was
doing
gonna
things
say,
needs to change.
would you start a would this be a very productive way? Now I know it would interfere with the prison industrial complex, but could you start recruiting from prison for these mercenary groups to go through basic and to give them the opportunity to make a living or serve their country in a different way?
Wow, man, it's like you're almost like a mind reader. I thought about this a while ago because currently the private military, private security and stuff like that, you need a very high security clearance.
Mm-hmm.
And that excludes that would exclude a lot of the folks that you're talking about who are doing sentences and everything along that nature. But there would have to be some exception to policy made in the event that it is a war to end all wars type of scenario, like World War One, the Great War, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
To our lawmakers, perhaps they should think about something like that. It's life is precious, but at the same time, if you got suicide missions,
Would it be like Suicide Squad, like DC did back like a few years ago?
was that not the con? Were they not?
That was
I
the
believe they.
concept.
Yeah, they're prisoners.
Yeah.
You do some as president. I'm not saying I'm running. Lord knows I don't want that job. But like, I would entertain the idea. Like, yeah, suicide mission. Listen, man, you come back with your head on your shoulders, throw your little party, you know. But it is something to consider, and it make a heck of a movie. You know what I mean? Based
Yeah.
on
I think
events and whatnot.
I think it's movies like that actually that's in the
You
past.
think
I
there's
can't.
real world accounts of such a program?
Well, you remember when we were joining, they would give people the option prison or the military.
Yeah, you're right. It was more
So
non-violent. There's more non-violent crimes, right? Or
for the most part, I think the further back you go, they would just throw you in like the Marines or the Army
yeah,
hardcore
yeah.
stuff,
It'd be like, yo,
like
get the
automatic, like, all right, we're gonna send you to military. So,
hmm.
and I think there was probably more success stories than failures with that, to be honest. I don't know. That'll be something we can dig into for
I
another
wouldn't be
episode.
surprised either, just because it's like you have no choice but to become disciplined and
Hmm.
move as a cohesive unit. And even how do you say boot camp is used as a form of disciplinary and rehabilitation, what have you. But like I could see that. It's just you would need you'd have to segregate the unit,
Hmm.
and do thorough psyche evals and you know.
I think that would be an answer for the draft as well, right? So we already signed up for selective service, right? Men and women should do this, by the way. If we're talking about equality, I'm just throw that out there real quick.
I won't push back with you on that. I agree they do it in Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you have okay, once you go to jail, you're automatically in selective service with maybe a different
A
what do you
higher priority.
yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely. I think that's a very good way to get everybody to serve their country in some form or fashion. We've been talking about this, what,
How
four
do you think that would
seasons?
affect crime?
I'll be very curious to see because that's a form of
Because you have a
restorative
lot of these
justice.
gangsters that are not scared of jail,
Yeah,
but they are scared to fight for their country. I'm curious how that would impact crime.
that would be very interesting. I think that's a great solution. Hey, policymakers, stockholders, something to consider. Upgrade America
Oh, you
4.0.
thought you was gonna get three hots in the cot, son? Nah. Go clear the minefield. Go clear that minefield. Told you. Or
Well,
what
I'm
have you.
I'm sure all the private military, what corporations, what they call them, mercenaries. I'm sure they're listening too. Hey, y'all can lobby in Congress.
But truthfully, I'm exaggerating with that, but prison labor is untapped. I want to fully abolish forced prison labor, but I would like to see a new generation of volunteered prison labor, not necessarily for military services.
Mhm.
Anyone who follows goskyward.org knows about Skyward. It's about more or less doing construction with out of plastic, but it would require volunteer prison labor. I think we're talking about manufacturing in the U.S.
Absolutely.
We're not going to compete with Chinese labor. We're not
Nope.
going to compete with labor in Indonesia, what have you. So why not do volunteer prison labor and get dirt cheap goods produced in exchange for what? Better living conditions. You don't want to give them full-time wages, but heck, giving someone a just a private room with
Mhm.
freaking drywall and something that doesn't look like a dungeon. I think and some other incentives. This is how we're gonna upgrade America.
I agree. I think we should come to a better solution nationwide because this would help us out economically. You would actually be really rehabilitating prisoners. And then you're giving options that you can go either private, mercenary route, right? We have to figure out the circumstances and standards with that, what comes with that. But then you have voluntarily manufacturing, et cetera, maybe recycling, use all sectors, use these guys and girls for all sectors of society. And I think that's a great idea, honestly.
Even infrastructure as well, though. We're
Yeah,
talking about fixing,
100%.
repairing all this, and you need a labor force. Like, well, then let's tap into that. But again, it must be voluntarily, or it is slavery, and that is a violation of
Was it 14th Amendment, 13th, 13? I
13th
think
Amendment.
13. 13.
Yeah,
Um,
so we don't want to do that.
yeah. What else we got? Since we're in this vein of law and this next segment's about to be up,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
we're
to dive
concluding.
into that. There's all these laws that are just got snuck into the system, but can you
Mhm.
tell us something that stuck out to you and how you can we can keep citizens aware?
Um, so I propose a solution. Upgrade America 4.0. This is what we do. We've been
It's
more
all
solution based this season. I think they should have a layman's terms picture book of all the laws on the books for Florida, including the new laws. You can do PDF, you can do a website, and you can do hard copy. And I think we all Floridians should get this every year with any updates or anything like that. That's why it's important to have the digital. But I think you should still, it's like having a phone book for back in the day or the yellow pages.
And I fully agree with that because the laws are changing every day. And it sounds like, no big deal. But really, what that means is something that was legal could now be illegal or vice versa. And citizens need to be informed upon this. At the same time, they shouldn't have to read through all this legal jibber jabber and try to figure out what's going on. It should be plain and simple and even some graphics if needed.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this because a couple of laws that I can remember is 200 of them that got passed on July 1st in Florida by Governor DeSantis and Florida Senate and all that. A couple of them that I can remember off the top of my head was they're changing. I think this got law got passed with marriage. With they're no longer recognizing permanent alimony.
Hmm.
So meaning like you get a divorce and say the man or woman, because it's getting to where it's a little more equal now, but traditionally the man has to pay alimony, child support to the woman for lifestyle, all this stuff. Well, DeSantis just passed something that says you're not getting permanent alimony. You're only gonna get an
As long
amount.
as you've been married or something.
Yeah. So say you've been married 10 years, you're only gonna get alimony for 5 years. And then
Half of it.
the it was another amount percentage wise of what they would get. I think it was like 25% gross, something like that.
So while we're on this subject, man, in the 21st century, does it
Mhm.
make sense for a man to get married?
I will say this. You can choose to be a life partner. You have to see the paperwork. When it comes to wills, trusts, medical directives, if you can do all that paperwork without being married and it's still effective where the state doesn't interfere and you don't have to fight with families, I say you wouldn't really need to get married. But if you have hurdles to where the state's still going to be fighting with your stuff or whatever, you would probably want to get married with a prenup. That should be standard. Matter of fact, every marriage should come with a prenup. If you're going to go that legal route, I think it should be just standard to have a prenup. But we know
How
people are
would
trying
that
to
work?
make money off of it.
Yeah. I'm thinking I kind of like that standardized prenuptial agreement, and then
That's another solution.
anything that comes out, it should be voluntary. Like the whole notion is like, again, it when you talk about alimony and everything like that, it makes me mad because I hear stories, about guys they work their butts off to support families and everything, and then for whatever reason, woman wants to get up and go, and she thinks she gets half. And it's like clearly you weren't earning nothing while you were in the relationship, but now, as you mentioned, there are some states where you gotta pay for life. Like that's insane. That's insane, and
And
it makes me think like, well, what is it? What is it worth? Why should men be like, yo, I'm going to sacrifice and work my butt off to support you all, and the laws are designed to destroy him? And you say it's a bit more fair now, but
I mean, it's
from my
progress.
perspective, I see more men that are leading households. I see more men that are getting shafted by this. So I'm just ranting in praise of this law that the governor passed it, because men have been getting pooped on for a long, far too long. So
And
salute you.
and we've been talking about this, just trying to make it equal across the board because we're in the age of equal. So I think there should be equal when it comes to reproductive. I don't think you should be controlling anybody's stuff, right?
Mm.
People should have freedom to choose, consent, opt out, whatever the case might be, men and women. Child support, same thing. It should be fair. Like everything should be fair across the board. That's all everybody's asking for. I
Mm.
think if we get to that fairness legally, I think people will make more informed decisions on the partners they get with, who they procreate with, who they marry. Like if you make all this stuff equal and don't incentivize just opting out, pushing
Mm.
forward on it, I think you have healthier families, less taxpayer dollars going out to bullshit instead of investing in things like community, more making daycare more affordable,
They spitting
more
that
things like
flame,
this nature. So
spitting
this
that
is what,
fire, bro.
yeah, I'm just saying,
Preach,
like, and then
man.
you think of mandatory paternity tests in the hospital as you're having a kid, so you eliminate that too. So mandatory paternity tests and mandatory prenups with marriage. All marriages should have that. That
I'll
way,
tell you
everybody
straight up,
starts off
it's
equal.
gonna create that's creating jobs in the system right there, having the tests, but also having the paralegals involved with the mandatory prenups, and maybe as you mentioned, like changing American virtues and values. Like maybe people will think about like who they are procreating with, because they're like, listen, the type of person, if you're saying like everything is voluntary and whatnot, you have to make those decisions. But there's always room for improvement. Upgrade America
You know.
4.0. Well,
Any lasting words? Any positive words for our upgraders?
man. For our upgraders out there, I'm not saying you just wasted like 30 minutes of your time here. We always dropping value, but you have nothing else better to do to get more money. So go out there, find another hustle, find another grind, start a podcast of your own if you want, but go out there and get more money. Poop storm is coming. The recession ain't start yet. Get on that vibe. Someone needs to hear that, and you've been told. But life is grand. You're here. You're in a game. Like it's a game at the end of the day, man. Real life, this ain't the real world, man. You're a billionaire out there somewhere, and you just paid $1 million for this simulation to experience it as a melanated individual. And guess what? The simulation is so grand that it gives you amnesia. And you can play this game any way you want. You can sit in this game, you're on the couch all day if you want, not do anything for this game that you paid for. Or you can go out there and conquer the world. It makes no difference, but it's a game at the end of the day. Don't feel sad. It's a game. You're not in Grand Theft Auto feeling sad. No, man, you're playing the game. So go out there and play it how you wish. There are no rules.
I will part these words in saying that we're in the land of opportunity, right?
Get some.
Make it that way. We're in the land of equality, right? Let's make it that way. I feel like the movement now should be healthier families, get back to being a village, you know what I'm saying? Get back to these fundamental things that we're missing. And yeah, I think Upgrade America would really take form if we get back to these things because they're not really bad things. Some traditional things are very good things, even in modern times. I think the fighting between, oh, that's the old way and then this is the new way, you can merge the two. And that's what we're always
The
talking about,
hybrid.
Upgrade America. That's it. You know, stay blessed, stay peaceful, keep building. That's what we're trying to do here.
Building, growing, you know, live your dream. Have fun in the game. Catch you on the next one. Peace.